Quilt backs are not my favorite thing. What I absolutely love is pulling together found fabric and scraps and making quilt tops. That is fun. Picking out a big piece of fabric for the backing doesn't delight me nearly as much. I'm Michelle, this is my romantic tangle, and we are going to try to find backings for some of these quilt tops in this video. I went to the thrift store a few months ago and they had some bags of donated fabric. They were big pieces of yardage, and I got them with the intention that hopefully I could use them to back some of these quilts. I have heard over and over that the back doesn't really have to match the front, or maybe doesn't have to match the front at all, and that is something that doesn't sit right with me. I'll give myself a little leeway, but I can't have them wildly clash. It just doesn't make me a happy quilter, especially not with quilts I'm going to donate. What do you think? Do you have your backs match your fronts? If I had sheets in just the right color or print, I would totally be using those and we would not even be having this discussion, but sheets are getting a little harder to find and I already have this fabric. So let's go through, let's see what we can match up, and I'll show you what I think I'm going to do, and I welcome any feedback of whether you think this is a good idea or a terrible idea. These are the fabrics that I pulled out that we're working with today. These are all thrift store finds, and if I can get backings out of these, I will be delighted. The first quilt is the easiest one and the most obvious. I had this over at Mom's because I thought I was going to quilt it on her long arm, and when I opened up these bags, I called her and asked her to bring it to our next meetup because that could not be more perfect. The quilt itself is with the fabric, so it is the perfect size. I'm not going to have to seam it or piece it. It goes with the colors. I have no arguments at all with this one, and I would probably even have enough fabric left over to bind it if I don't decide to go with a contrasting binding. But I think a contrasting binding would be more fun, maybe in red, because I do have a lot of red here. What do you think? I absolutely adore quilt number 2. I filled it out with this pretty kitchen print as a border, and I have a large chunk of that left that I think I should be able to somehow seam and make a center panel. I'm thinking that this red will go with the red in the border fabric, and hopefully there will be enough of it to frame this piece and bring it up to the size of the quilt. If I had a green that was more appropriate, I would probably go with that, or maybe even a yellow, but I don't, and we're working with what we have here. This quilt is made from leftover strips from those little drawers of scrap fabric that I bought at the thrift store last year. I really don't want to invest a whole lot more into it if I don't have to. Although it is cute, it's probably worth it. Next up, we've got this quilt which has a whole lot of red, white, and blue and a brown sashing, and I don't think that any of the blues that I have here really work with it. If this was a better blue, I would absolutely do that, but it's not. So let's see what else we've got. Does this one work? You know, I think I'm going to call it close enough. I've got mixed reds here anyway, so that would not be bad. And I don't love this fabric for anything else. There's enough of it to do a solid back for this quilt. Next up, we've got a pink sashing on some dark colored scraps. And again, nothing here is a really obvious solution for that. But hear me out. What if I took this and I bordered it with that? If there is enough fabric here to get a big enough piece to back that quilt, I think it'll work, and I actually am very pleased with that idea. I like it. I'll have to do some measuring to know for sure, but for the moment, I am folding these up together. Next up is the version that I did with green sashing. This one has lighter, more vintage kitchen-y prints for want of a better description. And I am thinking that this little floral print probably will work good for that. It's got the same whimsical vintage vibe to it, and there is, I think I have 5 yards. Now we're on to one of the quilts that I consider the troublemakers. I like it well enough. I think that there is a kid who is going to be delighted with it. I was working with fabric that had been given to me. It is super bright. I didn't think there was anything here that would be a backing for this, but I think I see my salvation. Look at the blue and the planets, and look at this blueprint. And tell me if you think that that is okay or not. I'm going to take it down to the quilting group and get some extra eyes on it, but for getting this quilt backed with something halfway appropriate, I think this is my solution. Okay, this one is a scrappy trip around the world. I don't have any black and white to use as a backing. What about the red? That could work. I haven't decided on this one if I want to put a border on it, if I want to keep it for myself. Mom gave me this fabric, so it's mine to do what I want with. I'm probably just going to sit on it for a while until I make my final decision, but I really like the top and I really like this fabric, and I think they play nicely together. Using this all up would be a very good thing. And then we're on to our last problem child. This is another one that I made with scraps from those little drawers. There's a video about the drawers, and I'll link to that in the description. It is unwashed flannel. It's just, I was challenging myself to see if I could do something with it. And shockingly, I came up with a quilt top, but now I need a back. Going into this, I thought that maybe I was going to use this Urban Grunge, which is Northcott Studios. It is quilt shop fabric. I still think it looks like an old sheet. There is enough of it, and when I hold them up together, I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't love the quilt either. My other thought was to use the anchors. That would require giving it something else to bring it up to size, and thematically, the colors are great. The theme doesn't match. And I know that people aren't picky about that. When my son was in the NICU, he got a quilt that was snowmen on the front and robots on the back. No criticism to that quilter at all. I just don't understand her design choice there. And quite possibly, she was doing what I am doing right now. Third possible choice for this quilt, which actually came with the batiks I got at the thrift store, is this one. There is probably enough. I might need to add a little strip of something else to bring it up to size. The colors aren't terrible. It's a pretty fabric. But do I want to use it on this quilt, or is this the perfect quilt for using up this difficult print? Let me know what you think, because that might be what makes up my mind. I can't believe that I found options for all 8 quilts, including this one. I'm not claiming that these are absolutely the best options. I am reserving the right to change my mind later if I find something better. But I could get all these quilted and finished with what is here in my room with me right now, and that is a really good feeling. Quilting from scraps and thrift store fabric and estate sale finds is a little bit of a different process, because if you are in the store spending the money on fabric for a new quilt top, it's easier to consider the binding and backing and buy accordingly. In the past, when I have gone out and bought backing for quilts I made myself out of thrift store scraps, I have frequently been disappointed in the results I got for the money I spent. So this makes me happier. Almost all of the fabrics I was using here came from that one haul of thrift store bags. I got the whole thing for 24 bucks. I gave a couple backings to my mom, backed, what is it, 6.5 of these quilts. For $24, I got my money's worth. I have a ton of fabric left. If you think that any of my choices are absolutely stupid, let me know what you do instead, because I'd love to hear it. I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle. I will put links to the videos about these quilts and about the thrift store fabric down below. Thank you for watching. I'll be back with you with more videos soon. I am having so much fun up here in my attic and playing with fabric and yarn.